Yogesh, retired Additional Secretary, Team IAS Network. Today we are doing a topic in General Studies Paper 2, transparency and accountability. So transparency and accountability is a topic which is common to GS2 and GS4. Even in Ethics Paper 4, we have a unit on transparency and accountability. GS2 also we have the similar unit, transparency and accountability. As I said earlier, the preparation for the civil services is not hard work but smart work. In this, what I mean is you have to look at the overlapping topics, overlapping chapters in the general studies papers. So the general studies paper 2, governance, the question: the working of the constitution depends on people and parties which should be held accountable. So we read the question once again. The working of the constitution depends on people and parties which should be held accountable. First, we have a background of the issue which we are discussing. Then we go to the important milestones in the RTI Act. We conclude with the issues of concern. First, the background. The Supreme Court in DAV College Trust versus DPI held that NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations, are substantially financed by the appropriate government. Hence, they come under the ambit of public authority under Section 2H of the RTI Act. Now, under the RTI Act, we can get information from a public authority. Who is a public authority? Public authority is one which is purely government or financed by government or substantially financed by government. These categories, if the organization comes in any of these categories, you can go and request for information under the RTI Act. So hitherto the NGOs were not brought under the scope of the RTI Act. The Supreme Court in this particular question, in this particular judgment, ruled that the non-governmental organizations should come under the RTI Act for disclosure of information. The Supreme Court ruled that the NGOs are substantially financed by the government. By substantially financed, I can mean grant of land. See, even if the organization is taking 1 rupee in assistance from the government, it becomes substantially financed. Suppose the NGO is entitled to grant of land from the government, it becomes substantially financed. So the Supreme Court ruled that NGOs are a public authority and they should furnish information if anybody seeks to get under the RTI Act. In 2010, a prominent organization, the Association for Democratic Reforms, filed an application in 2010 with the Chief Information Commissioner under RTI seeking information on political parties. So in 2010, a group called the Association for Democratic Reforms wanted information from the political parties on 10 maximum voluntary contributions they have received for the past 5 years. So the ADR did not know, whom to approach in a political party, because political parties did not come under the RTI Act. So they filed a request for information with the Chief Information Commissioner. Now, in 2013, after hearing the party, the organization which had filed a request for information, after the CIC heard the party, it gave a ruling that all national parties came under the RTI. In this ruling, it said it directed all the political parties to appoint a public information officer and a first appellate authority under the RTI Act within 6 weeks. So this was a directive given to the major political parties. that in 6 weeks they have to appoint a public information officer and a first appellate authority. When this was when the directions of the CIC to the parties was in motion, the government announced that the act has been amended to keep the political parties out of the purview of the RTI Act. So 2013, the government circumvented the decision, the order of the CIC, and made an amendment to the act saying that political parties are not included under the RTI Act. Now in 2019, the Supreme Court heard a PIL on declaring political parties under the RTI. So this issue is pending before the Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court is seized of the matter on whether a political party should be brought under the RTI Act. So that is still pending before the Supreme Court. So the important things which we discussed, we revise once again. In 2010, the Association for Democratic Reforms filed an application under the RTI Act seeking information on political parties about the 10 maximum contributions they have received for the past 5 years. The CIC, that is the Central Information Commission, directed all political parties to immediately appoint the Public Information Officer and First Appellate Authority under the RTI Act within 6 weeks, and it gave a ruling that all political parties came under the RTI Act. To circumvent the decision of the CIC, the RTI Act was amended to keep political parties out of the purview of the Act. In 2019, the Supreme Court heard a PIL on declaring political parties under the RTI Act. Now the status of the current issue is pending before the Supreme Court on whether political parties should be brought under the RTI. Certain issues need to be discussed in this context. In the first place, you see the national political parties, whether it is the Congress or any major political party, they are substantially funded in terms of allocation of land. They get land in cities allotted at discounted rates. They are accountable for accommodation. Then they get free airtime on TV and radio. So this is one reason why political parties should be brought under the RTI Act, because when they are enjoying various benefits like allocation of land, accommodation, and free air on TV and radio, it is not correct that they should be excluded from the RTI Act. Now, when public money is in question, when I say public money is in question, I mean the parties are using the infrastructure provided by the government. So there is nothing wrong in seeking information from the parties on various issues relating to their working. Now you take the RTI Act. The preamble of the RTI Act says it outlines the objectives of the Act as informed citizenry, containment of corruption, and holding of government accountable. So when these three are the objectives of the RTI Act. So the RTI Act will be complete only when the political parties are also brought under its ambit, because every citizen has a right to know the source of their funds, then whether they are transparent in their working, because ultimately the RTI Act came in to promote transparency and accountability and for containment of corruption. Now the Law Commission in one of the reports held that political parties are the lifeline of the constitutional system. Now the working of the constitution depends on the people and the parties which run the government. Political parties are the lifeline of the constitutional system. So a political party is a source through which the interests and issues get represented in Parliament. See the observations of the Law Commission. In view of this, it becomes all the more necessary that political parties should be brought under the RTI Act to enforce transparency and accountability. Now we see the judgment of the Supreme Court on NGOs. It said when NGOs which are substantially financed by the appropriate government, they come under the definition of public authority. So a public authority under section 2H of the RTI Act is bound to provide information. You see the position regarding political parties. Political parties also are substantially funded. See, they may not be getting direct money from the government, but the perquisites like free or subsidized land, accommodation, free airtime on TV and radio. So all this makes them substantially financed. And in the background of the judgment of the Supreme Court and NGOs, the Supreme Court is hearing the PIL on whether political parties should also be brought under the RTI Act. When NGOs which are substantially financed can come under the RTI Act, it is high time the political parties also fall in line, because the uniform citizenry has every right to know how the political parties are functioning, what is the source of their funds, what is the level of internal democracy in that organization. And political parties are the lifeline of the system, constitutional system. They represent the people and they run the government. So it is all the more necessary that if transparency and accountability is to be ensured, political parties should also be brought under the scope of the RTI Act. But as I said earlier, the issue on whether political parties should come under the RTI Act is still under the discussion in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is hearing the matter since 2019. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So we conclude the answer by saying that for the RTI Act to become an effective instrument of transparency and accountability and to promote openness in government, it is highly recommended that political parties, which are the lifeline of the system, should be brought under the RTI Act. This is the only way in which internal democracy can be promoted in the organization, in the political party, and containment of corruption. Because once they come under the RTI Act, everything is transparent. So the citizenry can know how the political parties are functioning. Because right now, even in spite of electoral reforms, we have the problem of black money, which plays a dominant role in the electoral system. So, in conclusion, we can recommend or we can advocate that the applicability of the RTI Act to the NGOs should be similar to the political parties. When our NGOs are declared as substantially funded, when the Supreme Court has called them a public authority and said you are bound to supply information under the RTI Act, it is high time the political parties also are brought on the same lines. Thank you.